Sometimes you just want to put a little extra work in. I know it. You just want to work a little hard, get a little sweatier, put a little more elbow grease into all the jobs. And well, when you want to do that, sometimes you want to go after the big dog deals. Those deals that are not just going to be one over 1 month or 2 months, or maybe, for one call close, is that so many of you promise me you can do. And there are a couple of you, I've heard you do it, but most of you, you're full of it. But let's be honest, when you're talking about setting up accounts that have hundreds, if not thousands of locations, and you're going after those big dogs and you have that connection, it's a lot of work. You've got to get off the ground. You've got to think through the long ways, but it can be really worth it. Even when the pricing has to be thin, you can set up 3,000 merchants and through one connection. That looks pretty good, and we like it too. And this time on POS Uncensored, we're talking about how you can go from one location to multi-location, go for the big dogs while keeping your sanity, right here on POS Uncensored. And on the right-hand side of your screen, on the other side of Indianapolis, Indiana, is Mr. Matt Proctor. Matt, the heat wave will be over. Well, at least the heat advisory leaves tomorrow night. That's what they just keep telling me. Looks like it's warm for a while. Summer is just summer. But how is life on that side of Indianapolis for you?
Just a big old ball of sweat, buddy.
Yeah.
I am apparently too chubby for this weather, so it's been a challenge. And I haven't even told you this, Nate. The air conditioning in my truck went out like 2 days ago, and I've been so swamped at work I haven't been able to get into my guy. So I'm just dying in my car when I have to drive anywhere. So hopefully get that buttoned up this weekend. But yes, I'm excited for today, Nate, because multi-location, that's my wheelhouse, baby. That's what I love. I get personally involved with a lot of these multi-location deals that go through my office, whether it's a vape shop, a liquor store, a restaurant chain, 27 locations. I mean, we have a 30 location salon to go through. So it's always exciting for me when we can help these merchants out and we can grow with the merchants. Sometimes they only have 4 locations to start, but they're growing and they keep adding it. And so, yes, let's talk all about it today. Let's tell some stories. Some exciting things going on in the enterprise world, as we call it.
All right, so let's set the game. So there are different probably levels of multi-location. So you have one restaurant that's a mom and pop restaurant, and they decide to open another location across town. Versus different. Can you kind of give us I know it's not specific numbers, but is it? If you have 10 or more locations, it's more complicated, or 100 and then I know we're working on a deal right now that's over 3,000 locations. How does each complexity start? Is it 1 to 10, 10 to 100? What are some of the numbers without knowing that we can't be as specific? What are some of the things that make it more complex as it gets more locations?
Yeah, well, it comes down to verticals, Nate. I mean, that's where it separates, okay? And we see such a difference. Sorry, I was in the kitchen. So let's talk food and beverage first. We see, I'd say 90% of our multi-locations are all QSR, okay? Quick service restaurants, much easier to have a lot of locations, okay? Operation costs are lower. You don't need as much staff. People are walking up, order, pay right there, okay? Whether it's a bakery, a taco shop, pizzeria, whatever it might be, those we see right away having multiple locations. Where a full service restaurant, they have to be very established and really have an amazing customer base, a regular base, to be able to go after multiple locations because their cost of goods are so much higher. Their pricing for the staff is so much higher. They're usually having a standalone building and they're not just in a little strip mall, okay, where our multi-locations can go. So that plays a factor. That plays a factor too. And what's nice for you guys is that, at least in the food and beverage world, QSRs are very easy to set up. It's usually easier to program the menu, easier to train the staff. They have 1 or 2 stations, couple kitchen printers. Some of them don't even have kitchen printers. Okay, think of coffee shops. Okay, local coffee shops that they're trying to be like Starbucks. Perfect. We set those up all the time. Okay, so that's what we're seeing in the food and beverage space. Now, as far as the retail space, okay, it kind of follows suit with verticals as well. No one owns one smoke shop because they don't make money off of one smoke shop. Okay, they own multiple usually, and we found that out, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, that they popped up everywhere. And so that's who we're seeing are adding every like 2 months. They're like, oh, here's another location for this one. Great, let's get the paperwork together. Liquor stores are very much like that as well. It's easier for them to add. I've got a guy with a convenience store right now where he's opening 3 this year, and his brother owns like 50 of them, and he's just going to keep buying these convenience stores. Like, okay, great. So that's how we break it down, is it really just depends by the vertical and how simple and fast it is. Because when they have lots of locations, they want to get them set up quickly. They want more money coming in. And for that, we have to have enterprise software, which thankfully we do. Oh, you're muted, bud.
That's what happens. Cough button. All right. We know we're working on this one big one right now. And talk about what the complications when it gets into that. Not only are they signing up each individual store, but they're signing them up in regions. And that at some point they start these multi-location, they start dipping in. So you got region A, region B, it can be 50, 100 regions, it can be 5 regions per state or 10 regions per state. And then it can get extremely complicated. And each one is kind of, not only do you have each store as its own mid, but each region has their own pluses and minuses and things like that. When you start getting into those complications where it's the stakeholders multiply, because when you go to a single location QSR, there's probably 1 or 2 stakeholders that are making the decision. When you start going into a 100 location deal and they're broken up into multiple regions, there are more stakeholders. Can you talk about how you start dealing with the multiple stakeholders when you're bringing in these big deals?
Oh gosh, this one in particular is so complicated because normally we see the same program, at least a similar program. Okay, whether it's the hot dog franchise that I've been setting up the location the last couple of years, or it's a retail, we just closed a 12 location vape shop. It's normally similar inventory, right? Over what they sell. Maybe it's the same menu. What's so unique about what I'm personally working on now with one of our partners is every region runs their business separately. And that makes it kind of a unique and fun challenge for us. That means that we need to meet with the stakeholders in each separate region, that CEO, that director of IT, that VP of retail, okay, to go through, okay, what are you using and how are you wanting to run your store that's different from these 2 regions in Texas or this region in California? So if anything, it's better for us because we want to make sure we customize and our software is that perfect fit for this region. Okay, because then if we bring on another one that we see there's a lot of similarities, we already have it built. And that's kind of what we're working on now is putting together maybe 2 or 3 versions of our software that we can cover what they're looking for. So this what we're doing right now is very unique. That's not normal. They do need all eyes in their region on every store. Regions can be as small as 8 up to, I've seen 100 in a region. So it is very different. And when it comes to our normal, so let's jump away from what we're doing right now with these very large regions. With some of our other 12 location, 20 location, retail restaurant, normally if they're franchised out, we have to set them up a great enterprising software where the franchisee will see their own information, but the franchisor, the main person, can have access to. If they're either paying a monthly, paying a percentage, they want to see what all the locations are doing. A lot of point of sale software can't do that. Thankfully, we have some on the retail and restaurant side that do that really well. And whether it's Quick, whether it's Mint, Corona, Retail Cloud, I'm just throwing out some of our systems that do enterprising very well. And some of them don't. That's why you get us involved. So we'll tell you, we're not going to waste your time and look at a system. You mentioned a mom and pop diner. If they even hint in a demo that they might want to get another location, maybe add some online ordering, we want to pivot right then and make sure we get them in a system that can handle the multi-location. So yeah, they're all. This is a unique situation, Nate. Yeah. Normally, it's a little easier for the ISO, the office, and for us to set them up because they're similar programming. Not with this one.
So why is it so important to have the synergies and the complementary relationship between the partner, PayProTec, and the POS company when selling to larger enterprise and multi-location businesses? Why is that important?
Oh, geez, the communication, it's everything. It is absolutely huge because that agent, okay, or that office, that's the glue. Think of it like the glue, okay? You got the backing of PPT, of the POS Pros team, but then that agent being involved with the point of sale company and getting their merchants where they need to be. Talking to, let's say, Quick, for example, because I haven't even told you this, Nate, but we're going to switch about 100 locations out in San Antonio, all off of LVU onto Quick. Okay. So this particular office is very hands-on, and they actually programmed all these LVU. So I already have coordinated for them to meet with Quick at their office. I will also be meeting with them when I'm down in San Antonio in a few weeks. And so that's huge because that's our glue to be able to say, Mr. Merchant, here's what we're doing this day, this day, this day. We're not relying on scrambling to try to get all these locations put together. And so that's why it's very important, because not only is it a lot of money for you as the partner, but the more you are involved in communication and with the texting and the emails, your merchant's going to stay with you forever. They're going to love you. It's worth your while to get that money.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking as you were talking, I remember it's probably been about 9 years ago. We were in a training together, and we were doing a training of some of the PayProTec partners about a floor above where you are sitting right now. We were doing this training, and somebody said, "Hey, I have a lead to get us Walmart." And we all just looked and thought, "Oh, come on, it's not, you don't have a lead." And he was full of, what. But what ultimately, though, it made me think that there are certain times in your career where you're able to make, if you need to put food on the table next month, probably not spending a lot of time on a big multi-location deal is not going to make you money quickly. It just isn't. It's not going to build that residual quickly. It can give you the giant up and to the right spike that you want to have. But for people kind of judging, are they ready to do this? Are they ready to be one of the key linchpins between PayProTec and the POS and yourself as the partner? As they're going along in their payments career, we shouldn't start out trying to do multi-location. What are some of the things they should learn and train on in order to be ready to do multi-location deals?
Well, first and foremost, I like to always say target a vertical. Target one you're comfortable with. Target one that maybe you worked in a restaurant, maybe you worked at a retail, whatever, something that you're comfortable with. And back to what you said about multi-location, Nate, it's not like we're installing them all at once. That's a great selling point, is when you get them interested and we get them on a demo, let them know, hey, we're going to set up one location. And we do this all the time for our multi-location. We're going to set up one. We're going to make sure that it works perfectly how you want it. We're going to make sure you got lots of training on it. Your staff likes it. Everyone's happy. And that makes them feel more at ease and more comfortable. Like, okay, I don't have to stress over trying to figure out my regional managers in these 12 locations at once. Then what we'll do is, once you like it, every week we'll just be scooping up another one and another one. And that's what we're going to do actually with all these LVU locations. We're looking at 3 to 5 a week. Just slowly but surely getting moved over. It's very rare that we would do kind of all at one. We did do that with one smoke shop. We did all in Corona in like a 2-day period. But normally you're just setting up one first. Okay, they're more comfortable giving you one location than signing for all of them. Okay, so that's your time to shine. Okay, they're putting you in an interview process. All right, so that's the key. All right, is getting them in that situation where they're comfortable with that one location. And that's kind of how we've gotten a lot of our big stuff, Nate, is just targeting one and then getting all of them. I'm actually doing that here. When you mentioned a good way to get into it, I'm a regular at several restaurants around here, probably more than I should be. But I've been working an angle to get them off toast for a long time now, and they know that they're pushing me. And I'm talking staff, I'm talking management, not necessarily ones that can make the deal yet. But as we're getting farther along in their contract, and now I see some more issues, you better believe I'm trying to get one location. I just want them to get one and try it out with our quick POS and our handhelds. See how much better the support is, the pricing's better. And once I get that one location, you better believe I'm going to get the other 6, I think, that they have. It also helps that one of my kids works there now. I'm using that angle. Sorry.
There you go. Hey, absolutely. Got to use your children. They're getting paid for their job, but they're also spying for your job. We see how that works. But and one of the things I want to add is, as partners, lean on our relationship, man. If you come in and you say, hey, I know the CFO of this XYZ 100 location retail stores, we're going to help you along the way. And if you have that contact, you can jump in. But if you're just jumping in, I wouldn't start. If you're just cold calling, don't try cold calling as you're jumping in. These are longer sales. Let's get some things that you have in some
Easy
victories
stuff.
under your
Yeah.
belt. Get some accounts on your actually on your profile and on your portfolio that you're making some money. I'm going to bring up. Let me add this. So Vincent asked. I always like when some people ask some questions that are live. He asked,
Nice.
let's see if I can make that come up a little bit. I don't know. There we go. I can see it real. How were you able to switch people over from LVU? So maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, none of the proprietary information that we don't want to share, but
Yeah.
just general of, obviously LVU has been a partner of ours in the past. Now they're mostly a PayFac and more of a competitor. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what is happening in that and why Quick is a good solution for people, current users of LVU.
Yeah, it's a great question, Vince. It actually happened last night at 5:30. So this is all very, very recent that this all happened. So this particular office is very comfortable with LVU. They know how to program LVU. They like how easy it is. And so they actually set all the LVUs up for this merchant. The issue is it's just LVU. It's an iPad system. I mean, I like LVU. It's not a bad system. All systems are good. They've been trying for 2 years to get me to start selling it for them. Now I don't think we can, but they keep reaching out to me at every event. But bottom line is it's an iPad system, and iOS are not very popular anymore. They're not meant for commercial use. They're meant for residential use. They break. They switch versions all the time. Apple has some new update. So what they're doing now, and this was the big factor, Vince, they're only paying $59 a license. Okay, good solid license price. But they have to use gateways. I think they said 2 different gateways to make sure they got this processing that they're putting through Fiserv right now. Those gateway fees then put them over $100 a month. A lot of these Mexican restaurants only have one station, it's just that checkout station up front. And they were worried that our pricing was too much, but they're all doing cash discount. Most of them are 50 grand. And so I pitched them yesterday. I told them how they can have complete access, just like they have now with LVU. Quick is going to set them up as almost a franchisor, so at all their locations, and you can have this too as an agent or as an office where you can see all your Quick merchants. If you ever need to submit a ticket, if you need to log in to help them with adding a button, you can. We can give you access to all that. I'm going to get him set up with a demo account. I'm having a meet with Quick. I'm going to do a demo for him so he understands Quick better because that's how hands-on he is. So then moving forward, he'll just go and pre-sell, still put the tickets to us because he wants us to help with the paperwork. And he's thrilled because he used to do his own VARs and file builds and all that. And I'm like, no, we'll do all that for you. You just get the MID and select Quick POS. And so, yeah, I just buttoned up yesterday, and now we're just going to be switching over everyone onto EPX, onto Quick. There's only a few places that have 2 stations. They're going to pay about $100 up front and $95 a month for a license. Just done. So that's out the door. That's how you sell it. So yeah, there's a nice little perk that came through in the evening yesterday. Thanks to Mike Stetzel and connected me with Paul and his team. So that was good. Shout out to Mike.
Well, and it is the teamwork that we work together to make sure we solve problems. And it takes teamwork and a village to solve problems on both sides, on our payment side and on the business side. We're in these multi-location deals. Who are some of the key stakeholders that maybe you wouldn't usually reach out to, like a chief technology officer or a IT specialist they may have, or they may have a whole department of that you have to reach out? What are some of the people that are maybe more unique players than when you're just dealing with a single or just a few locations?
God, those are the most intimidating, Nate. You get the head of the IT department for a 27 location shop. I mean, they're talking above my head even of some of the stuff. I'm not an IT guy, I'm a sales guy, I'm a point of sale guy. I know the software inside and out, but I think the IT guys can be a little intimidating. But you know what? They're the best sometimes to talk to because they give you the truth about the pain points they have. They are happy to talk about things they don't like. And so the best thing you could do is just, take notes. What would you like if this could do this? Okay, if we can fix that pain point, how much does that save you in efficiency and time? Okay, in production management. That type of stuff is what they love talking about. And that's really what we're here for. We're here to not only give them, a solution and work on the processing, but we're help growing their business. You help grow their business, they're never leaving you. right? And when you can convince them, like, I am here to help as a consultant and as help grow your business, and that means point of sale, that means credit card processing, anything else you need, then they look at you differently. They respect you more. They want to hear your answers. And if you can't get them answers, say, I'll absolutely find out that answer for you. Let me talk to my programmers. Um, so I'm just recently running into a lot of those challenging talks with some of these larger regions, Nate, as I'm used to talking to owners all day long. But now I'm talking to the CEOs, COOs, CFOs of sometimes gigantic regions that have several VPs under them. They might have 700 employees. They're looking at $500,000 worth of hardware, things like that, and that's just one region. So I'm scratching the surface into some of those conversations now, and find that the different verticals. This one's a very unique one. The different verticals have such a high volume need. And all you that are on here know that I'm a restaurant guy. I always have been 20 years. I can tell you everything how to run a restaurant successful, blah, blah, blah. But I'm diving so much more into the retail world, and just the ops world, the logistics of how so many of these companies run differently. Um, so, yeah, I would say pain points, Nate. I mean, don't get intimidated. They're regular people. Don't get nervous. Don't get intimidated. Get to know their first name. Be genuine. Make a joke if you can. Mohawks help too. That loosens them up. I found that out. Didn't know that, Nate, but apparently it does.
Well, it definitely makes you unique in the hairstyle when you're in there. I'm going to guess that
I'd
you have not
rather
walked
not
in.
forget me when I
Yep.
walk out of that meeting.
Yep. So let's talk specifically about any differences that maybe you talked about. Obviously, quick service restaurants, they usually multiply quicker. Vape shops sometimes multiply quicker. Things with liquor stores, things that are reproducible, or, and like I think at liquor stores, a lot of times they may, multiply by acquisition. They just simply, they
Yeah.
find another and they say, hey, those 9, because they all run similarly to the same. What are some of the differences between quick service restaurants, maybe if there are, obviously full service restaurants that are multi-location, that are changed, and even then different types of retail? What are some of the differences across those different verticals that partners should be thinking about when they're pitching, hey, I can help out your multi-location business?
Yes, I definitely find, guys, that quick service are easier to get your foot in the door. And I say that because we have some great locally owned chains here in Indianapolis where Nate and I are, but they have like a corporate office you can't even get into, because of the amount of staff they have and all that. Where quick service, I mean, what's it called? Nothing But Cakes, the little cake shop over here. I literally was walking over and I got some cakes. I walked out, talked to the guy out there by his car. That was the owner, right? And he has 4 locations and that of his franchise, because they do need to keep an eye on it. They need to stop in from time to time. They need to make sure things go well. The staff there are usually, because they're all customer service people, they're right customer facing. They're used to talking to everyone all day. They are happy to tell you, how their franchise is, how many locations they have. Oh yeah, the owner's here every Monday doing inventory. His name's Tom. Her name's Susie. Stop on in. So quick service definitely easier to get a hold of. Um, Smoke shops we found kind of hit or miss. Our agents have done a great job though. You guys have done a great job at getting the right people in front of us. Smoke shops usually all have one. They have one manager per store, a couple other people smoking off to the side or whatever they're doing. But it's talking to that manager and finding out how we can get in touch. Just target that manager right away. What do you like about this clover you're using, this square? How long have you had it? You can get that conversation started right away. So I'd say target those two first. We've actually scooped up some liquor stores, Nate, because we we had agents that went in and saw they either weren't taking chip cards because the reader wasn't working, okay, or their system was from 1978, whatever it might be, and you wouldn't know unless you walked in because some agents are intimidated. They know they have lots of locations, so they don't go. But they might actively be looking for a point of sale, and you'll never know if you don't walk in. So don't be intimidated, guys.
What what are the differences when it's all corporate owned versus franchise models, and even in that there's different types of franchise models? There's things they should be aware when looking at multi-location that's all corporate owned versus franchise.
It's just how it's really how they want it set up because we've done both. Um, I find corporate level could be a little easier. Okay, yes, we have to get in with the right people. Period. Yes, we might have to talk to multiple people to get that right decision. Okay, a lot of times it's not the CEO that's making the decision, okay, or the president. Okay, they'll let their operation manager make a decision if it's for betterment of the company and it's going to save them money, okay, time and money. Franchises can definitely be more complicated. It depends on how much of a grasp they want to have on their franchises. Um, how much support they want to give them and how much they want to see. Now, we've had some that were very kind of loosey goosey that were just like, yep, here's no location. You go set them up. It's the same menu. No, nothing special we need. We got our own deal worked out with them. Like, okay, well, that's easy. Where there's others where I know, Quick, our partners at Quick, they've got 27 location seafood chain that's here in the Midwest. They're very particular about that, where corporate wants to make sure they're seeing each of these and they franchise some of them. They need to see every last number. Why is your labor cost off? You're not going to be able to pay us if you're not keeping an eye on this, this, and this. So yeah, I mean, we've seen them both. I find that if it's all under one corporate, it's a little easier. Back to what we're talking about now, I like that these regions can do their own thing. So one region we're going to do it this way, but then another region could be a whole different way, and I'm fine with that because then we could just focus on how you want to run yours. Um, as far as the selling and the setup of it, that's easier for me.
Yep.
Did that answer your question? Sort
That
of.
does. I mean, it so much of it is, hey, we're just going to walk through the process with you. That's why we bring all the stakeholders together. And that even in multi-location, there are multiple things that could happen, multiple ways it can be set up, this particular one you're working on, some of them were just taking over the processing. Some of them were putting a whole POS. And then with the hopes that those regions will convince the other regions to jump in with the POS.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about customizations that are and how we choose our POS vendor and our POS partner vendors when it comes to places that need a little more customization, especially in these multi-location than your standard. You walk into a mom and pop restaurant, most likely all the features are already on that POS and you can do
Absolutely.
it versus ones that we work on where they're
Customer
like,
reporting that they want, things.
how do we deal with that? And how does that work with our particular vendors?
Okay, great question. First off, we got to be looking at the right system, guys. And everyone who's worked with me before, that we'll have 12 to 15 different POSs at any given time. Okay? I'm always looking at softwares. I got one Friday, I got one Monday that they're wanting to pitch me, whatever they have. So right away, it comes down to we're going to look at enterprise software, period. Okay, so that cuts out half our softwares right there. Okay, so Quick POS and Retail Cloud POS have been our number 1 and 2 for restaurant and retail when it comes to customizing things. Okay, and that's very important to note. That does not mean that Mint POS is a bad software. Okay? It doesn't mean that at all. Or Salito by North or Cluster, any of those systems, they're all good in their own way, but some of them are very locked down. They will not do an open API. They will not go and to any extra effort for the merchant. Okay, where the case with Quick, they are constantly adding new features. If there's that big request for it, if I say, hey, I've got these 90 locations or whatever, in San Antonio, but hey, here's the thing, they need this. I know that Tom and his team will do that if it's worth it. And that's the same as Kevin. All right. And Kevin and I talked at length about this almost daily. And if there are special things that we need, especially for these regions that we're working on now, absolutely. It just comes down to how much it's going to cost, how much time is it going to take. But that's still beautiful because so many softwares can be an amazing software, but they're like, nope, we're not going to do it. This software is what it is. And so it's my team's job to make sure we are setting up the correct demo and the correct system ahead of time. And if we know there's some special request, we're not going to set up a hot sauce demo. Sorry, Kai, if you're watching. Love you, buddy. Okay? Sorry, same thing. Paradise. It doesn't do multi-location. Love you guys, but we're going to set up the right software. So yeah, quick and retail cloud. Corona, they're not bad either. They can do some customization, absolutely. But for retail restaurant, those are a big two, Nate.
Yep. Well, and as we close up our conversation today, and what we're trying to do is empower our partners to realize you can think big and think broad and go after the big dogs out there, specifically the multi-locations as we're talking about. Um, and there is huge profitability available in these. There are also some huge headaches that are available. Because I don't always want to put too pink of a bow and make it look real
I'll be
pretty.
honest,
there
yeah.
there are some headaches that go on to trying to go after these multi-locations. Can you tell us just maybe a little bit of some of the headaches you've seen, or even, I don't want to call them disasters, but like you get in, we've gotten into large ways. We do an RFP, we think we're going to get it, and then you've put, hundreds of man hours into something, and then you don't get the deal. Can you kind of walk us through what might some of those headaches they should be aware of?
I'll tell you a recent one, Nate. This is so frustrating, and this is very rare. So we got into a 350 location liquor store, okay? Um, all run by multiple families. It's a huge family. One of them might have 30 locations, one is 50, whatever. We got in. We did a demo. Believe it or not, they actually wanted to look at Greta, which is not, we don't always do that for liquor stores, but like, sure. They love it. Did the demo. Boom, it's sold. Everyone's excited. Okay? My team's excited. My rep who sold it. That ISO office is pumped. Let's keep adding more of those locations. They never install. Months, talking months going by of back and forth with us of what's going on. And it turns out it's a husband-wife team, and the wife absolutely loves it, but then the husband refused to let it be installed. And just sat there, and the agent just kept going every week trying to get somewhere with it. And what finally happened is we had to return it. Now that's a rare case, but that was a big high down to a big low. So we don't ever want to count anything as done or sold until we get that, multi-location pulled through. And the case with this one is just very frustrating. But if we do it right, Nate, if we do it right, and you just one location at a time, bam, 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 then along the way we find any pain points and we resolve them. All right, that's the key. Is nope, you need this to be done, not a problem. Let's make sure this is done so the rest of the locations are good. Okay, we did that. Speaking of retail cloud, we did a 15 location deal this last year. Where the same thing. It was like 3 or 4 locations up front. Then we just kept adding more and more. And we hit some pain points. Not gonna lie, we had some issues, but everything we were able to resolve over and over. It's like, let's just fix it. Now let's move on to another location. I think it's much more painful if we would have tried to install all 15 at the same time. That's just me being honest. So understand the first few weeks, guys, they might have some little hiccups. More important for you to be the glue and for you to be there and be able to make sure we know what those are and get them fixed.
Well, and I will tell one story. Not too distant past, we had a partner sign a really large multi-location deal. Going through the process, we thought we had all the significant stakeholders' signatures, and there was I forget the title, but it was one of the founders that didn't even have owning interest anymore, so it didn't actually have to be a signature. But we were replacing that founder's, I think it was nephew, who was the agent on the original account, and it blew the whole thing up. And when you watch those, deals, that was a multi-location online. They had multiple online things, but you've got to make sure you're to as many of the stakeholders as possible, because you never know who's a husband and wife team that aren't communicating. Well, that's, one, we're not marriage counselors, and two, we got to make sure that everybody is on board. Anybody who has any major influence, even if it's not ownership. I mean, we didn't need them for the merchant account, but we needed them for XYZ. And those are things that get more complicated when there are more layers and
Right.
unique layers, and whether there's and how they're set up as an organization. And some they have, I heard stories of back when a major change was done for McDonald's back in the 1980s and 90s. And but it was the fight for the RFP. What they didn't realize, they were only getting the corporate owned accounts. They weren't getting the franchised owned accounts, and which was a much smaller cross section of what they got in. So these groups thought they were getting much bigger accounts than they were. All those things, you just got to watch and make sure and cross your I's and dot your T's. And that's why we do it as a team. We try to watch these others' backs because we don't want to get to a 300 location place and think we're getting all these accounts, and suddenly they just never activate because it's all that work and none of the reward. So we want to get there. We had a couple
Yeah.
comments here. Matt or Lauren put a comment. I always like to have this small retail stores. I moved this up a little bit so I can read it here. But small retail stores are really good to sell too. And the onboard one is easy to work with others, not only just for multi-location. If you can get one and get a small retail, they talk to each other usually too. And so not only, sometimes it's not just multi-location, but if you get a single location, you get the other locations because they're all interacting with each other because you get referrals. Never forget to go after those referrals. That is a huge part of doing this business.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren. I see what you're doing on here. I see what you're doing. Lauren is now, she's now with one of our point of sale partners. So she's chiming in here.
Yeah.
Drum up a little business. I see how it is. Okay.
Yep.
And then you met Lauren several times.
Yes. Well, and so, and working with one of the partners we've been talking about today. So, all right.
That's right.
On this, Matt, what's your closing pitch to our PayProTec Nation and POS Uncensored world to why they should go after multi-location?
Yes. What I say, guys, this goes back to what Nate said at the very beginning. When you're targeting a multi-location deal, right, you're going to have to go through those layers, okay? Just like I'm doing now with these regions. You have to sell the IT person. You have to sell the VP of operations, whatever, before you're ever even getting. Now, you need them on board. But while you're doing all that, go scoop up these little side accounts. Okay, go scoop up and get that money in your bank. Throw those MIDs in because the process might take a month or two. You can't sit there with a month or two without money coming in. Just on this call, I was thinking about a strip mall over here. Half of this place in the strip mall are corporate. But you know what? There's a little Thai place that I know only uses a standalone credit card terminal, and there's a little locally owned spice shop right next to it. If I was an agent, boom, right there. I'm going right after those two. Get them buttoned up within a week or less while I'm working on my other large multi-location. So just keep that in mind. Have some patience, okay? But spread your time out equally. Unless it's an account that you really feel like you're going to get and that's your retirement or whatever, then sure, spend the time, but you better have a lot of other money coming through, okay? And some of our agents are lucky, okay, that they already have built this great portfolio, so they have that time. As you are building your book, there might not be that time, okay? Get us involved. Like Lauren said, small retail, let's pick them up. We scoop them up all the time, okay? Mom and pop diners, quick service, you name it, we'll go after it with you. Okay, so you have a whole sales team here trying to help you. Utilize us. Okay, that's what I would say, Nate. Spread out your portfolio.
Let's go after the big deals. Let's go after the multi-location merchants. Let's continue to grow. We're looking forward to making some big announcements, probably in the quarters, if not year to come, of some of these deals that we've been working on that are some really big names that we're very excited to have part of the PayProTec family. And they only come to PayProTec if they come through our sales partners, because we have no inside sales. We'd actually, we are here. We're a sales enablement team, empowering sales partners across the United States to help them grow their business. And we're here for you. If you are not currently, if you're just watching this and not a partner of PayProTec, just email me at nate@payprotec.com and we'll get you connected to one of our recruiters. Would love to help you do that. On behalf of Mr. Matt Proctor on the right-hand side of your screen, looking incredibly sexy with that beautiful mohawk, myself, Nate Manahan, we're so glad you joined us on POS Uncensored. We'll be off for 2 weeks because of some travel for both of us, but we'll be back here in July, ready to bring you more incredible, uncensored POS content. See you guys.
Bye, guys.